Hello students, today in science we will start with chapter number 9. The name of the chapter is Force and Law of Motion. So in our previous chapter we have studied about the motion. In chapter number 8 we have studied what is motion, types of motion, these all the things we have already studied. So in chapter 9 we are going to talk about force and law of motion. So before we talk about law of motion, let's see what is a force. So basically whenever we push or pull an object, a force acts upon them and makes them move from one place to other place, right? So basically force means pushing or pulling any object can be considered as a force, right? So while you are going to push or pull any object, what can be happen? So first of all, it can initiate the motion of any motionless object. कोई भी अगर ऑब्जेक्ट रेस्ट पोजीशन पे होगा, then by applying the force to that object you can bring that object into motion. Like here you have given the example, a man uses force to move a stationary lawn mower, right? Okay, so exactly same way, suppose this pen is at a stationary at a rest position right now and I am applying force with my finger. So what happened, the pen will start moving, right? Then next is change, that means increase or decrease the velocity of a moving object, right? So that can be also done by the force. If you are applying more force, then it may happen the velocity can be increase or decrease, right? Then after, alter the direction of a moving object. You can also, with the help of force, you can change the direction of a moving object. And last one is the change the shape and the size of an object. By applying force, either you can change the shape or size of the object. So to understand these all the 4 points, here we have given examples that effect of a force. First of all, the force bring a stationary object into motion, here we have seen. Then after, a footballer uses a force to change the direction of a motion, right? So right now you can see the football come towards the children, right? So the child will kick that football, so it will move in the opposite direction. It means by applying force you can change the direction of a moving object. Then here you can see a cyclist uses a bigger forces to pedal his bicycles and increase its speed. If the speed is increasing, then velocity is also going to be changed. So by applying more force onto the pedal, the speed of the cycle could be increases, and you can change the shape and size of the object by applying force. So a baker uses a force on his dough to shape it into a curry puff, right? So like this way, the force can be changed the shape and size of the any object, right? So these are 4 examples, the effect of the forces, right? Now next is the types of forces. So basically there are 2 types, balanced and unbalanced forces, right? So first of all, let's talk about the balanced forces. So when an equal amount of forces are applied on an object from different directions, or we can say from opposite directions, such that they cancel out each other, then that kind of forces is called balanced forces. Suppose this pen is put at the center like this way, and someone applying a force on the pen from the right hand side while some applying force from the left hand side, but the force applied on this pen from both the sides will equal. अगर यहाँ से आप 5 न्यूटन जितना फोर्स लगा रहे हो तो आप दूसरी साइड से भी 5 न्यूटन जितना फोर्स लगा रहे हो. So if from both the sides you are applying the same amount of the force, then what happen? The pen will neither moving on right hand side nor it will moving on the left hand side, because the force will be cancelled out from the opposite direction. Then this type of forces can be considered as the balanced forces. So they do not change the state of rest or motion of an object. तो किसी भी ऑब्जेक्ट का वो स्टेट चेंज नहीं करेंगे. They may change the shape and size of an object, otherwise it will not change the position of the object. So here we have given one example. This is the table. On the table the cup is put it, right? The cup is over the table. So now because of the weight of the cup, the force is applied on the downward direction because of the gravitational force. Exact same force will applied by the table on the upward direction to this cup. So what happened? The cup will not moving. Cup will not go below the table, or not it will move upward, right? So it can be considered as the balanced forces, right? So we can consider that the force applied by the gravitation and the force applied by the table onto the cup are equal, and it is considered as the balanced force, right? Okay. So now let's we talk about unbalanced forces. So opposite to the balanced force, when forces applied to an object are of different magnitude, it means in a different value or not in a opposite direction so as to cancel. So when you are applying unbalanced force, then what happen? They can alter the state of rest or motion of an object, then they can cause acceleration in an object, or they can change the shape and size of an object. If the applied force is unbalanced, then these three phenomena can be takes place. So if you are going to take the example, then you can go through this example, that the weight of the child, because of the weight of the child, force applied on this seesaw is more, so it will bend towards the child, or it will bend towards the child direction, while on the other side you have put an apple, and apple does not having that much weight, so the force will be different. The force applied on these both the sides of seesaw is different, and because of that reason the seesaw is moving downward, and it will not move in the side of the apple, right? So this force can be considered as the unbalanced forces. Another examples you can take for the unbalanced force is, suppose same example if you are going to take, then suppose I am applying force on the right hand side to this pen is more as compared to the left hand side. Then what happen? The pen will move to the right hand side. It means it will change its position. So the unbalanced force can change the position of any object. Then after seeing the types of forces, that is the balanced forces and unbalanced forces, now let's we talk about the friction, right? So what is the force of friction? So it is a force extended when two surfaces are in contact with each other. It always acts in a direction opposite to the direction of motion of the object, right? So always the frictional force will be opposite to the direction of the motion of the object. Suppose you are riding your bicycle in the opposite direction of the wind, then what happen? You will feel that you have to pedal hard to drive your bicycle, right? Because the air will apply the frictions, right? And exactly same way, if you are taking one more example, then suppose you ride your bicycle and you come to the school. At that time you have to pedal your cycle continuously. If you are stop pedaling your cycle, then what happen? After some time your cycle will stop moving, because the wheel of your cycle is in contact with the road, and road will apply the frictional force onto the tire of the cycle, and because of that reason the movement of cycle will be stopped if you are stop pedaling your cycle. So here with the help of this figure also we can try to understand the force of friction. So suppose you are pushing this table or this block on this right hand direction, and you are applying the force on the right hand direction, so the motion would going to be takes place on the right hand direction. So obviously the frictional force will be acting opposite to that direction, that is the frictional forces will work on the left hand direction, right? So we can say that it is a force extended when two surfaces are in contact with each other. It always acts in a direction opposite to the direction of the motion of the object, right? Okay.